Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we just received some incredible news to discuss about the wipes, including the current and future state of Once Human. We'll talk about how the season will work as the first one comes to an end and what they may look like in the future. What happens when our current season hits the last phase, which for me is in less than 5 days. An updated list of what we'll get to keep and what we can take to the next season, and more info on the Eternal Land and how item transfers will work with the new scenario. Then I want to discuss some other great news from this week, including some updated changes and things they're working on for Deviations and the construction system. And as always, if you enjoy my content, please consider giving me a like and subscribing, as I'm getting really close to my goals and the ability to join the Once Human Content Creator Program. So let's dive in. So the first topic in the post is, what are seasons and scenarios in Once Human, and what does a long-term game plan look like? Here they state, we hope to bring various survival gaming experiences so the game has a little something for everyone. Also, we'll keep making updates to the game so it's always exciting to play. That's why we've chosen to give this game multiple scenarios. And then it goes on to state that a scenario is the gameplay theme of the server. Once Human's global launch was in July. We had 2 scenarios to play. We had the PvE and the PvP scenario. And then in September and October, as we've seen on their website, they're going to be bringing new scenarios to the game. So the September scenario is going to allow you to face confrontations among factions, and the October will introduce you to an all-new map and challenge you to survive extreme environments. So the September one is going to be the new PvP map, and the October one is going to be the new PvE map. Says they're also working on scenarios featuring limitless PvP gameplay and longer duration, and additionally, a regular scenario that can be played all year round will be available in the future. Our plan is to release 4 new scenarios each year. So I think this is a big win for a lot of people. We have them listening to the community and the feedback that we're giving them, and they're going to offer limitless PvP, which a lot of people wanted. They were a little disappointed when they joined the PvP server, only to realize the PvP was pretty limited. Outside of doing wars and a couple, in-game things, it wasn't like full-on PvP. So it's going to be interesting to see what that looks like in the future. Does that mean PvP is on all the time? Is it going to be faction-based like, World of Warcraft or the Horde Alliance? The war system, to me, is kind of based off a New World, so I wonder if they'll do like a 3-faction system like they did. And then also, what will happen with housing and stuff? Is it going to be raiding on all the time? No raiding? So we'll have to keep an ear out to find out what direction they want to go with that. On the other side, we also have the PvE servers not starting until October, so that's a little bit of a concern. What are we going to do in between? Because most of the players in this game, I feel, are PvE players, so we'll have to see what that looks like, if they're going to get a new scenario right after this one, or if they're going to have to hang out on their servers until the new one launches. And then finally, they talk about having a year-long server, which is going to be really great because I know a lot of people didn't care for the wipes and they just want to have like a server that they can always go on. So this works out for them. They'll have a whole year without having to worry about wipes. They can spend as much time as they want, gain as much, items, and not have to worry about losing any of that stuff. So all of this stuff is really good. They also talked about the 4 new scenarios each year, so that is probably something that they listen to the community about. Everyone was afraid of these 6-week wipes, so here they were basically stating, hey look, there's going to be 4 scenarios, they're all going to be different timing. The first one was 6 weeks, and I think they were probably trying to be pretty ambitious in the beginning, so it looks like they've calm down a little bit, and we're only going to get 4 per year, so likely scenarios will probably work out to be around 3 months long, so that's all good. So then the next bullet, they say each scenario is set within a time frame of the season, with the duration of the season varying according to specific scenarios. A season will be split into several phases based on the feature of the scenario. The in-game content will be unlocked gradually as your server progresses, ensuring that you always have something new to enjoy. Once you unlock all the scenario content and the season has come to a settlement phase, you can sign up for a new scenario, take all of your gains, start a new adventure. Alternatively, you can stay on the same server until the settlement phase is over, and this phase is going to last for 4 weeks in the current scenarios, with seasons and scenarios we're dedicated to delivering an engaging and captivating experience. This is the long-term game mode we've envisioned for you. So here again, you can hear that they've listened to, they've listened to the community, and they're working with us. So even though my scenario is going to end in 5 days, at the end of those 5 days, if everything goes the way this is planned, and maybe this might not happen until season 3, but I'm going to get to essentially choose the next scenario that I want to play, and I can leave the server right away and go on to start playing that other server. However, if you are someone that still has things to do, or your friends aren't ready to leave, then you can hang out on your server. In this case, it's going to be 4 weeks long, so you have another 4 weeks to basically complete everything, decide what server you and your friends want to go to, and then go ahead and hop on that server. So I think that's really nice that they added that to the system. And so right there, the first season is not 6 weeks, it's technically going to be like 10 weeks long. So if you're not close to finishing all that you need to do, don't worry about it. You're going to have some time. And with the PvP and the PvE servers not coming out until September and October, we'll have yet to see what happens in between. Maybe we'll all be stuck there until they figure it out, moving on to the next season. Moving on to the next question, they discuss what are the differences between the different scenarios. And they start off with the different seasonal rules and objectives. In each scenario, you'll encounter unique seasonal rules and in-game objectives. For example, some scenarios may ask you to explore uncharted territories and secure rare deviations, while others will require you to form alliances with other metahumans, survive in harsh environments, and combat ferocious monsters. In those scenarios, you'll have the option to either go solo or team up with other players, and even align with factions to compete for valuable supplies. And then 2 different in-game experiences. So they have new survival mechanics. There'll be certain scenarios that are going to introduce features that intensify the challenge of survival, such as harsher weather conditions or more demanding environments. And then you have maps and areas. So some scenarios are going to have new maps, and then enemy types and dungeons. So we'll have different scenarios, may have special monsters. Configuring the right memetics and gear builds is the way to deal with the different dangers and threats. Even the same scenario can present varied combinations of environmental stuff, I guess, bringing diverse survival challenges. And then scales, the maximum number of players for each scenario will also vary. So what this is basically telling me is that, 1, we're going to get new maps, which is nice. The current map that we have now, it looks like it stretches out, and that may be used for the next PvP season. We might be stuck on the same map, but it's expanded, so we'll have new territories, because they only mentioned a new map with the PvE scenario. So we'll have to, again, see how that plays out. So some of these new scenarios will have new maps. The other thing that they talked about was the survival aspects, harsher weather conditions, and then how you might need to configure memetics. So to me, that is telling me that we're going to have different memetic trees as we go into these new scenarios, and they're going to be based off of whatever the scenario is. And then from there, I don't know if it's going to be like Conan, where you have to, augment your gear to go in like a hot place or a cold place, or if there's going to be different food associated with it, or if it'll just be memetics, or it'll be like the specialized memetics where someone from your team is going to have to, craft jackets for everybody. So we'll see how that plays out. That's going to be interesting. And then the number of players scaling for each scenario will also vary. To me, they're not talking about the actual scenario, but maybe scenarios within the game. So, as we see right now with PvP, you have a certain amount of people that can come to the war. So I'm thinking it's going to be similar to that. So maybe, silos will be 4 players, and then they'll have raids, which will be 20 players, and then other scenarios will scale as well. So again, that's something that we'll have to see how that turns out in the future. The next question is, how do we sign up for these new scenarios? And this is really important information, because this is what a lot of us are coming up to in the next week. So here it reads, in the final phase of the current scenario, you can sign up for a new scenario and start a new journey right away. If you prefer, you can choose not to sign up for the new scenario and remain on the same server, continuing your exploration and battles for up to 4 more weeks. During this time, you can always sign up for one of the other new scenarios. If you haven't decided on which one you want to join and your server's last phase is over, your current server is going to be closed and your character is going to return to Eternal Land where you can continue playing, and then you can sign up for a new scenario at any time. So if you jump into a season, you start off, you end up leaving the season earlier or whatever, you don't have to worry about coming back to make sure that your character is saved. It's automatically, once the season closes, going to dump it into the Eternal Land, and this is pretty much standard for any type of seasonal content in other games. So that'll be pretty nice. The only question I have here is the first bullet, which was in the final phase. You can sign up for a new scenario at the start and start your new journey right away. I don't know if that's going to be possible for us right away because, you know, we don't know if the servers are going to be ready, because it does state that the PvP is not going to be available until September and the PvE is not available till October. And then here you can see they've given us this nice graphic which basically goes over, you know, survival mechanics, maps, enemies and dungeons, scenario duration, scenario size. Everything is basically going to be different as we move. So the next thing that they talk about is, when a scenario is over, does that mean I'm going to lose my in-game progress? So here they state no. We value the effort and time you put into the game. When a scenario is over, you can take away the rewards you've earned, except for some extremely rare cases and items that are related to scenario and memetics. However, to ensure that each scenario offers a complete gaming experience and allows all players to enjoy the game regardless of their progress, they have put the following rules in place. So your character is not going to be deleted. Character name, body size, cosmetics, furniture formulas, friends, important material. So then they go over the star chroms, the Christogens, the Masuko marks, the silver keys, and more. Your battle pass progress, the task progress is also going to be forever retained, and they will not be lost when you change from one scenario to another. However, character leveling and memetics are considered part of the scenario experience and are closely linked to the in-game pace and the balance that they want to have. So those will be reset according to the scenario rules. The weapons and armor blueprints, blueprint fragments, weapon accessories, mods, food recipes, and other important in-game progress resources of your character will be forever retained, and you can use them anytime in any scenario. The house blueprints, the furniture formulas, and the furniture, and this is new, we get to keep the furniture too, of your character will be forever retained. However, when you start a new scenario, you will need to spend building materials to rebuild everything based on your house blueprints. And we've optimized the house blueprint feature for a better formula compatibility, allowing you to quickly make your house blueprint a reality even without advanced materials. And this is great. And I noticed this earlier, I was playing with it, but essentially if you have a big house or whatever and you build it in T3 and you go to place down the blueprint, you can select, you know, hey, I want to use T1 mats, and it'll know to use those instead. Now here's a good tip. You should, at some point, if you want to get ready somewhere on your land, especially if you have a big building, build a small starter base. Something that you can blueprint just that base, so that when you get into the new scenario, you're not wasting your time. Because what you don't want to do is join a new scenario and then try to use the blueprint of this huge base where you're going to be spending the first, 5 hours of your life farming tier 1 mats to get the base in order, and then farming tier 2 mats and so on and so forth. So what I recommend is you do like a little starter, maybe 3x6 or something, all the essentials that you need so you can hit the ground running. You don't have to spend a lot of time farming. You can be up and going, and then you just use that until you get to the end game, and then in the end game, then you can pop out the blueprint of your big house. So that's just a tip that I'm going to give you. So here you can see we have a really cool flowchart that they put together. Essentially, we started off, we chose our scenario and server, we created the character, we then played the scenario. During the last day, we can sign up for a new scenario in the later phase of the current season, and then we can either choose not to sign up for the new scenario, which will leave us on the current server until the season ends, and then if we still choose not to sign up, our character gets dumped into the Eternal Land. However, if in the final days we do decide to join a new scenario, we can sign up for them, and then boom, we get to play on the new server. We take over our character, resets our levels, resets our medics. We keep pretty much everything else, and we're good to go. So, great flow chart that they put there. Next, they talk about regular resources. So materials, medicine, ammo, and more you've obtained, armor, weapons you've crafted, deviations you've captured, and calibration blueprints. They're all going to get transferred to the Eternal Land, and they'll be forever retained. So upon entering the new scenario, you can bring multiple items with you as long as they adhere to the scenario's rules. However, please be aware that there is a limit to how many items that you can bring along. So this is to ensure that both new and veteran players start from scratch, promoting fair competition in new season scenarios. Of course, regarding the design of the rules, we'll make sure everyone can bring your favorite content to the next season. As for energy links, due to their strong connection with the scenario pace and in-game trades, they're going to be transferred to your Eternal Land after the season end. They'll be converted to Astral Land that you can use for building an Eternal Land, and they haven't set the specific ratio. So another tip for this, this is kind of use them or lose them. Once that final phase opens up, we're going to be able to take our energy links, and I think it's like 400,000. You want to save at least 400,000, and we can use that to buy some Starcrom boxes. So there'll be a bunch of Starcrom boxes. I think it equals another 4,000 Starcrom, so you want to make sure you save for that. Anything extra that you have, go around to the vendors and just check and see what they have. Try to buy things that are going to come over, like, mods or whatever that you can get mimetic fragments. So just spend them, because it's a use them or lose them, unless you you need a lot of astral sand because you want to build in the other area. However, I wouldn't be too worried about it. This stuff, the energy links, super easy to get. I even have a video how to get rich really fast. Make sure you watch the video. Same thing with the vendor. Very good tip is, you want to get your vendor started right away and start getting some stuff in there so you can start making passive income. Get the vendor out there. Again, I have a video on how to set up a vendor, how to price your items, what to do to make it stand out. So make sure you watch that video. It's another great way. I have over 1 million energy link. I don't even know what to do with them. I spend them like crazy. It just keeps rolling in. So another great tip. So moving on, items highly associated with the scenarios of mimetic specialization cannot be transferred across scenarios. Mimetics will be reset based on levels, allowing you to reselect mimetics and craft items according to the specific scenario that you're playing. And then they give us these two great charts. So we'll go over the first one. So the first one is everything that we can basically take over to the new scenario. So it goes over your character and cosmetics, so names, body size, fashion cosmetics, character customization data, emojis, actions, name cards, titles, all going over. Your material, pretty much everything except for your energy links, so Sarchroms, Christogens, Masuko marks, stellar planulars. So don't spend those. Sproutlets, just don't blow that stuff on, like things you don't care about. Save them, bring them over. Chances are a lot of the stores and shops are going to refresh. Could have some new cooler stuff that we haven't even seen yet. So make sure you save them. I know like stellar planulars, they're great. Make sure you do all the like little side missions, because those things you can use to buy Starcrom, and we all know Starcrom is like super important. So Sproutlets, Lightforge ingots, Lightforge relics, cosmetic tokens, colorful badges, battle pass tokens, silver keys, battle pass experience, and more. All that's coming over. Important in-game progress. So gear blueprints and their ratings are going to come over. So your 1, 2, 3, 5 stars. Blueprint fragments, weapon accessories, mods, including the mod components. So you can go out there and get all of those before the server ends, and the food recipes. So all of that stuff that you get in game is also going to carry over. And one thing I will say, try to get all that before the new scenario, because chances are new scenarios are going to have different items. I mean, that's just what most games do. So try to get everything you can. Like if you're at the end and you have those 4 weeks, try to bang that out before you come over to the new scenario, so that you have them, because those may be gone forever. So here Furniture formulas and building house blueprints. Learning furniture formulas, excluding those unlocked via memetics, the house blueprints, and this is new, finished furniture items. They all get to come over with us. So I wasn't sure about the items that we got, like the furniture that we're picking up as we go through and do these loot. Like if you just watched my last epic loot run where I got, 10 furniture formulas and items, like all of that stuff is going to come over. So I'm really excited about that. Seasonal items, seasonal honor shield patterns, cultivation essence, and more, that's all coming over. Friends, coming. Task completion progress coming, and a lot of people ask questions about this. So for the main story task, the side story task that you completed in the scenario, you're going to be able to play their streamlined variant in the new season, or you can go through the full version. So people were concerned with whether they were going to be able to get the rewards if they'd already because they heard that the progress was going to be kept. So here it kind of gives you an idea. They're going to allow for a quicker variant of it, so you can knock them out a lot quicker, or maybe you just talk to them, and I don't know how it's going to work, but you'll be able to get those rewards again, which is really nice. And if you want to play them again for a second time, boom, you have that option. Event progress and materials, you can check them in the event screen. So yes. So here, these are going to be items that are going to come over to Eternal Land for you, and in Eternal Land, there'll be a section where you can go and basically you can spend currency. You have a finite amount of currency each season that you can use to basically buy things to come over into the new season with you. So if there was like a gun that you really loved, or there was, resources that you think you really want, you can go ahead and you can pay for them and bring them over. So one thing, so here's a tip. This is what I might do. One, it's really cool that we're bringing over deviations. Some of those deviations that you get that have high points, you're going to probably want to bring them over because, they're going to be hard to get. Or maybe somebody that really helps you work on your base. But one of the tips that I would do is, I know in the previous version, in Phase 1, they locked out the higher level zones. And with the higher level zones coming out, we couldn't get to the materials that we needed in order to pump out electricity to make, the better furnace and stuff like that. So maybe you bring like a small stack of that you need just to make like your benches and things like that, so that you can get a jump start with solar panels and electricity going into the game before having to wait that full week until they open up the rest of the server, assuming that's what they're going to do again. So that's a good tip. If you like it, let me know down in the comments that you appreciated that. Or if you have some tips on what you think you're going to bring over, let us know. Let's get like a hive mind here, hive mind, and talk about what we think we can bring over that's going to benefit us the most. Either way, I'm going to figure it out, and once I do, I'll make a video about it, and I'll share it with you guys before everything gets going, and then hopefully we can blast ahead of everybody. So then moving on, here are the things that you can't take with you from the current content of the associated scenario to the new scenario. So map exploration progress, that's a no. We're going to have to, relearn the whole map again. And it's probably because things are going to be cut off and they don't want it to be super fast, and there'll be, rewards for capturing all of the teleportation points. So that's going to go away. Character level experience, boom, back to level 1. Not a big deal. Scenario core gameplay items such as chaotic cortexes and staroids, boom, those go. And again, that's fine. We need to build them up, knock out our 40 per week. I can see why they want to, start us over on new things. And then any specialization items, craft it using memetics. That's all going away because we're going to have new memetic trees and they're going to reset the memetics. So that's really nice that they put all that together for us. And then finally, the thing they talk about is, how do I take items from my Eternal Land Depot into the new scenario? So here, and we spoke about this earlier, you're going to be given a certain amount of resource points before entering the new scenario, and then each item you choose to bring over the new scenario is going to cost a specific amount of resource points, and then the required amount is going to vary between items, and they can be checked in game. I don't think they can be checked in game right now, even though we do have the menu, but I'm sure once we once this whole thing rolls out, probably in the last phase, we'll be able to see, and then we'll get an idea of what we should send over, and we'll start making a list. So the number of resource points are going to refresh each time you join a new scenario. So that's another good thing for us. Whatever we bring over the first scenario, whenever the next scenario comes over, it'll be a refresh for us, and then we can choose again. So that's all the big news. Next, I want to talk about 2 dev updates that came out this week that I hadn't had a chance to talk about, but I think are super important, and you should definitely know about it because they're going to make you excited. Post the links to them in the description, but we've been talking for a while and you're probably sick of hearing from me, so I'm just going to rapid fire through these because they do have some great things. So the first key takeaways is they are going to be including a guaranteed deviation system. So a lot of people were complaining that it's very difficult to get some of the deviations and they wanted an easier way to do it. So they do plan on putting in a way to make it easier to guarantee that you're going to get them. Now that could be through a quest line, or it could just be, your RNG gets increased, your chance to get them each time you kill a certain boss or whatever. But that's the first thing. Next, people had asked if they could have multiple deviations at once. They don't want to allow people to do that when they're out. They want there to be some weight to the decision that you make on the deviations. So as for right now, you'll only be able to have 1 deviation in your backpack at a time. Placing more deviations. So currently there's a limit of 20 deviations per territory. They do have plans to introduce unique securement units. So we don't know what that means yet. But it didn't sound like they were going to give us more, but they were going to give us some unique ones. So maybe that will allow us to, put something in the unique one that then increases its rate by 20% or 50% or whatever. So you don't have to have, 9 beavers running around your property. You can just have, 1 and then just crank up that unique securement unit. Next, they do have a system that is going to be coming for upgrading weak deviations, and they talk about future plans could include fusing to upgrade the weaker deviations. So what I think will happen here is just like, with fragments, depending on the level of the fragment, white, green, blue, purple, you get a certain amount of fragment points. I'm guessing that when you catch your deviations, depending on how well they are, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 5, or whatever the scores are for them, they'll be worth a different amount of kind of points towards upgrading the other ones. So you'll be able to, I guess, burn an older deviant to boost a newer deviant. So that way you can end up with 1 5 out of 5 instead of 8 1 out of 1s. So that'll be good. Then there's a roof push issue. So then finally they talk about how there's been an issue where deviants are pushing their owners off the roof, which is pretty funny. 1, why are you up on the roof? And 2, why are these deviants so evil? But anyway, they do have a fix that's going to be coming to make it so I guess they're not pushing you off the roof anymore. Although, why are you up on the roof? You can just hit B and then tilt it and fly around. The only issue I have with deviants pushing me is a lot of times when I'm creating a YouTube video, I'll be standing there, talking, and one of the deviants will come and push me out of frame. So I think that's kind of funny. Then they go on to talk about some social features. So the world chat, they're going to be adding an AI filter so that it's not, spammed with a bunch of stuff. They are looking at ways to allow people to showcase gear. I think of this not so much as like showing it out in the open, but I think what they'll do is allow us to have like an inspect, so you'll be able to like click on somebody and inspect their gear so you can see what they're running. Friends in chat and channel memory, they're going to try to remember what the last thing you went into for chat is, so it'll open directly up to that instead of a default landing page. Cross-world teaming, so there's going to be improvements planned for displaying teammates' worlds when they're forming teams, so that if you're trying to meet up to do like a chest run, it would show what world you're in. So it'll be like, hey, we're in world 5 or whatever. So that'll be nice. The cross server teaming, So cross-server teams are already supported. I know you can do it in Eternal Land. I don't think you can do it in-game, but it looks like there's going to be guides that they'll be doing to improve, how to do cross-server teaming. And then vehicle access permissions. So modular vehicle access permissions are going to be introduced, and I guess that's to allow other people to drive the car or do whatever. So that'll be nice. And then someone, I guess, had asked at one point if they could have shared vending machines. I imagine this is for like if a hive sets up, one vending machine in town, that the whole hive could put stuff on it, and then, they could buy it. They haven't figured a way to program that. They said they're having issues, or they would have issues divvying out the payments to whoever sold, so they're just going to stay away from that, and that's fine. I'm glad if they just focus on, high priority things rather than, things like that. Although vending machines, there is room for improvement. And if you want to know more about vending machines, here's a plug for my channel. I have a great vending machine video. Make sure you watch it. It's awesome. Great way to get extra money, especially with the new season coming up. You're going to want to get that passive income rolling as soon as possible. Moving on to the next dev update. Here we start off talking about roof and stair alignment. So if you're like me and it drives you crazy that you can't get your roof and your stairs to align properly, they're going to be introducing a grid system alignment system. So that's coming next month, and it should resolve the issues with the roofs and the stairs snapping into place correctly. So that's going to be really big, just in time for the new season, so we're not sitting there frustrating. Construction limits, so there's some misleading in-game tips that they're going to be updating so that people understand their true placement limits for certain components. However, even though people have been asking, the overall construction limit's going to remain the same, just because due to technical difficulties. And this makes sense if you've ever played like a game with open world building. You can't really go crazy. Like even now, later in the game, you see server issues and stuff like that, and as you're driving, like houses will just pop in on you. So this is to ensure that the server, stays as smooth as possible. If you do want to go crazy building, you can. That's what Eternal Land's for. I've seen, if you go on Reddit, there's really cool posts, people building these really big racetracks, and they're racing and having fun in the game. So, go check that out. And also in Eternal Land, you have the ability to toggle how building actually works. So in the regular game, you have stability issues, like after three ceiling tiles, you lose stability, so you have to make sure that you can only build so big. In Eternal Land, they don't have any of that issues. You can just flick it off. Water and electrical issues. So there's upcoming fixes to include simplifying the water and pipe management. They're going to add flow direction indicators for the water devices and convert water pipes into general pipes, which will allow us to transfer oil and impure acid. So if you have like an oil farm or an acid farm, you know that you can't get that stuff to push over, and you got to do it manually to finish out the process. So this is just going to make that a lot easier. This next one is a big one for me. Fish tanks, they're going to increase the capacity to hold more fish. I hate it that you can only put one fish. I want to put like all my cichlids in a tank and stuff like that. And then I also hate that the fish don't stack, which is a pain. Like, how are you going to preserve them longer than their time? Because it would take a whole fridge just to put a couple fish in there. So this is really cool. It'll kind of also work as like a holding thing. If you have a bunch of fish tanks, you can just set them up, dump a bunch of fish in there, you don't have to worry about it. So that's coming, and hopefully with that they also allow fish stacking, so that'll be nice. Agricultural system, the effective range indicators and cost information for the grow lights and irrigation system is going to be added with ongoing optimization to the system. Have you seen the agriculture system? It's not the same for everybody, depending like how low or how high you have the light and how you have the setup. It could be completely different on how it works. A lot of people don't know that. My video, one of the first ones I put out, the ultimate building guide, tips and tricks, go check that out. I show you how to set up a grow room, like really nice, with the lighting and the correct height and how to get as much stuff in there as you can. So definitely check that out if you are interested in farming, because there's a lot of good information in there. And then irrigation device controls. Controls are going to be modified to prevent accidental activation of irrigation devices, and planting and potential enhancements using deviation skills are being explored, which is really good because right now we have the mushroom, and the mushroom is terrible. Like all it does is you can tell it what seeds to plant, and it'll go ahead and plant it, but then when it runs out, it doesn't plant anything else. It also doesn't fertilize. We got an update like 2 weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago, where they were like, hey, we're going to set it up so now you can, press a button and it'll automatically plant the last seed and the last fertilizer that you put in there. And everyone was like, yes, this is the greatest update ever. And we thought that it was going to transfer over the mushroom, but no, it just transfers to us doing it manually. So we were manually doing it. We can, press F and then F and then F or whatever the key is, and it'll just refill the same stuff as previous. However, mushroom, not that smart. He's still not doing things right, so hopefully they get all that worked out. If they can just pass that over the mushroom, we do the first set of planting once, and then the mushroom takes care of what we did, that would be awesome. Hopefully that will happen soon. So other than that, thanks for hanging out, everybody. Thanks for making it to this video. I know it was a super long video, but again, I really wanted to go in depth. I wanted to do a deep dive because these changes are super important. The wipe, everything that's coming is super important. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Really close to reaching my goals and hopefully getting into the creator program, which will give me direct access to the devs, which I would love because there are still so many questions that need to be answered, and I would love to be able to ask them. So again, thanks again. Thank you very much. Thanks. Have a good one. See you in the next video.